Let me try to do that. All right, we are ready whenever.
You ready?
We are ready.
Here we go. And here we go. Episode 17, and this will be more titled The Stock Market Crash of 2017 for fantasy football.
It is rough out there, peeps. It is rough.
Todd out here for Pam. Okay, so what happened is that all the amateurs, what did they do? They drafted in the first and the second round. And they took the big names. They didn't really pay attention. And guess what? Injuries hit like hell this year. And those who were informed, podcast listeners,
That's you guys.
That's you guys, readers, whatever, they're people with depth on their bench. And people who just kind of just went with whatever, they're the people who lost the money this year. So good for you.
And we said this. The first and second round, everybody gets, and that's fine. Unless you're like me and draft David Johnson in every league and then trade for David Johnson in every league. And, you got to fight and you got to scrap. You get people like Kareem Hunt in the third round. You get people like Carlos Hyde in the fourth round. Chris Thompson, I got in a couple leagues in the 13th round. Like, you've got to fight for those guys. But we're past that point, and we're going to help you move forward. That's what this episode's all about.
That's right.
Everything's gone. Terrible. Let's get back on top of it.
So before we get there, we're going to climb through the bag of bones. We're going to climb over this mountain of bones of injuries, and then we're going to get right into the news and right into waiver wires to help you guys out. So here we go. First up, one of the greatest to ever do it. Let's give him his props, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. He's down. He's out.
You done messed up, Aaron. You done messed up. And I'll say this as a Niners fan, I love this guy. We should have picked him number 1 overall. And the sad thing is he affects so many people. And we'll talk a little bit about this later. We're going to go through and we'll break down the top 5 of each position moving forward for the second half of the fantasy season, kind of like if we were redrafting. And he affects a lot of people.
Yeah. Jameis Winston is fine, although – man, when you looked at that game, you're like, are they keeping him out a little bit longer because he's just been a jackass this season? He's not matured.
There was no way they were going to come back. They were down 31-0. Like, it was awful. So rest him, just let him chill and start back over next week. He's going to be fine. But, yeah, he's a jackass.
Quick question. Would you start a franchise over with Jameis Winston?
It depends on who my choices are. He's not bad. I'd probably put him top 16 quarterbacks, maybe even top 12, right at the fringe of that top 12.
Okay.
I'd be happy with them, but I would much rather prefer somebody that's not going to lose me games. I'd take Alex Smith over him, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Fournette is fine, although if you watched the game, you absolutely didn't think so. It looked like season over.
It was bad. But they've already come out and say he's playing this week. He's fine. Just a couple of days rest, but he's playing this week, so he's good to go.
Trevor Simeon's fine, but what the hell happened to that team?
Gosh, man, the Giants, wrecked shop. That's who they are. The Giants lose to teams they should win, and they beat teams that they shouldn't win against. It's just their MO. It's who they are.
That defense is no joke.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders, his ankle, I don't know how long he'll be out.
His MRI is supposed to come through today, but we haven't heard anything, which makes me think he's wanting to get a second opinion. I think he's going to be out for minimum a month. That was a bad one. And so this is probably one of the biggest injuries besides Aaron Rodgers. That's a huge fantasy impact. I mean, buy right now Demaryius Thomas in every single league. Go get that guy.
Yeah. Teddy Bridgewater will resume practice this week, man. I'm happy for that dude.
He's off the pup, but pump your brakes. Don't go pick him up on the waiver wire. We're talking 3 to 4 weeks, maybe just before he can even play, but probably even later than that. So they're chill out. Just need to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, he's practicing. And then last, and we're going to move forward, is Golden Tate. Man, I have him in 2 out of my 3 leagues. This one hurt me.
He has played absolutely amazing for basically his entire career. So, the guy is special. But with him being out, he was the number 12 wide receiver in fantasy. He's going to miss some time, probably a month or longer. Like, this is a significant injury and impacts a lot of fantasy. And we'll talk about waiver wires on who you need to get. So.
Yeah. Moving on to the news, guys, and we're just one section away from the waiver wire.
Oh, hang tight. Hang tight. It's coming.
Hang tight. Here was one of the biggest surprises. I'm just, driving along. I look down at my phone, bling, and then Ezekiel Elliott, suspension back on. And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, I was in the middle of class. Spoiler alert, I'm a teacher. And I totally was like, hey, guys, turn to your partner, share your answers, and try to get every single cowboy. Obviously, I'm not a good teacher. Trying to get every single cowboy that I could, namely, I want McFadden first, and then Alfred Morris second. And now we're not going to include them on our waiver wire because the information cleared before Thursday's game. So they were completely you could pick them up. It was just first come, first serve.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on there. He is suspended. I know there's conflicting reports out there. He is 100% suspended right now. Now, the only way that this could change, let's put my legal hat on, is if he can find a court, basically the same court that ruled before him, to overrule the precedent of the prior court and grant him a stay or a temporary restraining order. On Twitter, usually they put TRO to save letters, against the injunction by the NFL, which happened before. I know this is ridiculous, but
okay.
There we go. I don't teach law for anything. But that's what's at play here. So it's all still 100% up in the air and in the hands of a few. But as of right now, he has the San Francisco 49ers this week, and he is suspended and will not play. So that's kind of where we're at.
Could you imagine if, you put half as much passion into fantasy football into teaching as you do fantasy football? I mean, your kids would be learners, buddy.
Well, we'll see. The thing is, they're just asking the wrong questions. Instead of AP U.S. history, you need to come at me with the fantasy implications of the recent, basically CPA agreement between the NFLPA and all that stuff. Let's go collective bargaining. I can break that down.
Oh, John's nerdum is it's a different flavor.
I've read it all.
All right, and to much surprise the people in the league, Adrian Peterson, bing, bang, pow, he's back with 134 yards and fantasy relevant once again.
Man, how crazy is it? I played against Adrian Peterson in 3 leagues this week and somehow still managed to win all 3 of those. But that dude balled out. He had 26 carries, 134 yards, and he had a 40-yard run called back on a holding call. The guy just was phenomenal. So, and a lot of it, this is things that we talk about, in the offseason. It's not so much about talent, which Adrian Peterson has always had. A lot of it's about opportunity. When you do not have competition for carries and you are in a spread out offense that gives you an opportunity to catch the ball and not a lot of defenders in the box, which he never really saw up in Minnesota, we can see this.
Yeah.
This is the same guy that was losing carries to Alvin Kamara and to Mark Ingram. He is great, but he's not a top 5 running back talent right now.
Right.
But you put him in the right situation, and we see what happens.
That's right. All right. Julio Jones. Dan Quinn is not happy with his usage, and that is makes me happy because I have him, and he's been killing me.
And so this is who Julio Jones has been his entire career. He's never had a lot of receptions. He's never really had a lot of targets, but his production with what he gets is amazing. But Dan Quinn was saying we're going to get him the ball more. The offensive coordinator was saying we're going to get him the ball more, but it just hasn't happened. So, I hear what they're saying, and yeah, it makes me a little bit happier, more warm and fuzzy, but still, it hasn't happened. Why would it change now?
Yeah, I get that.
He's my number 5 running back or number 5 wide receiver moving forward on the year. That's kind of where I have him at, which isn't bad.
Again, this was kind of like the week of what is Ezekiel Elliott, and then this next one, Martavius Bryant, just out of the blue wants to be traded, and I have the best destination for him. But yeah.
So he came out today and kind of recanted and said, "I never said that." And if he did say it, he's an idiot. I know he only had about 50% of the snaps last week, but that's just kind of who that offense is. Like, you need to shut your mouth and be thankful and play out your rookie contract without getting suspended and then land a big contract. But who do you think he should go to? Where would you want him to go?
Bears. And they have no wide receiver help at all. Yeah.
They're terrible. They are terrible. But I will say this. They're 2-4, Chicago. Like, they're in last place in their division. I doubt they're going to make a playoff run. And why not just wait? Why not just wait? I would love to see it, but
obviously the Giants would make a play because, again, for them, it's kind of over too. Don't count out the Cowboys to do something stupid. Anyways.
Right. Very good.
Dude, how about some good news for your guy, CJ Beathard?
Man, I absolutely love this week. Came out and balled out. Had a touchdown, 240-some-odd passing yards in 3 quarters, really 2.5 quarters. But the kid looked good. Fantasy implications aren't really much there. But buy into the tight end Kittle. That guy, he looked his way a lot. They were roommates in college, CJ Beathard and Greg Kittle. So go get that guy. Get the tight end. Probably stock down for Pierre Garçon, but we're going to see what CJ can do. So if you're in super flex leagues or anything like that, go get this guy.
Yeah. All right, so here we are. This is the moment of truth. Only about 11 minutes in. You don't have to wait that long, okay?
No, we're good. We're good.
No, we're good. The waiver wire is here. So, John, start us off. It's hard to believe that Andrew Luck is only owned in about 50% of the league.
It's absolutely ridiculous that he's owned in 50% of his leagues. Now, the sad thing is, and I'll give Chuck B this one, there's a chance he still will not play in his next upcoming game. But hopefully he will soon. He will be a top 5 quarterback moving forward. Like, that's just who this guy is. And if you look at his schedule, his bye week's not until week 11. And so he does have the Jags this week, which is a tough matchup. But after that, Bengals, you got the Bengals, the Texans, Steelers is tough. It doesn't matter. Go get this guy. Go get him. If he's available, I don't care what format it is, Andrew Luck needs to be owned in 100% of leagues. Now, my next quarterback's kind of a tricky play. It's Tyrod Taylor, who he's owned in about half the leagues as well. And I understand he's lost every wide receiver in the books.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with Tyrod Taylor. He's got a couple guys coming back. Charles Clay will be back in about a week or two. He just came off a bye, and he has the greatest schedule in human history.
I like that.
I mean, it doesn't even make sense. So if we look at it, he has one tough matchup the rest of the entire thing, and that is against the freaking I would say the Kansas City Chiefs, but they give up the 6th most fantasy points. He plays against the number 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 fantasy teams, defenses that give up the most points versus quarterbacks. Wow. And he already finished at 5. His toughest matchup is number 23 versus Miami. That's it. Miami is his toughest matchup.
And they're hit and miss.
Yeah, they're weak secondary, but a great pass rush. So Tyrod Taylor is go buy low. Go get that guy and just stash him. If you have bye weeks coming up, go get him now and just sit on him because he's going to be solid.
Another guy who really came out and surprised people this week in a time where people thought the Giants were going to rush for negative yards was Orleans Darkwa.
Ooh, he had over 100 yards rushing at Denver. Having said that, everybody else that played Denver, if you combine the last 4 running backs, and there were some studs there, including Ezekiel Elliott, they had 70 yards combined between 4 starting running backs. So go get this guy. They're changing the entire offense with the Giants, and they're going to lean on the running game. I still like Gallman, but Orleans Darkwa is the guy to own right now. After that, your boy Smallwood's coming back this week. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, let me touch on him for a second, though. Not in that way, talking about him. Anyways. I know you love it, but actually the coaches have kind of been saying some things that are a little bit worrisome, and here's one of them for anybody who has Smallwood on their bench, is that both Deuce Staley and Peterson came out and said that Blunt is starting to play like a feature back and will get touches as such.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not saying – I don't think Smallwood has to be the feature back to be owned. And that offense, you just got to think about Darren Sproles and the number 2 running back that they used to have. He is combined in that. And so he is probably one of the highest volume third down type running backs. So you're thinking Theo Riddick, Chris Thompson, guys like that. He is in that category. If you're in a half point or PPR or a full point, this guy is a must own. He's owned in 35% of leagues. That should be 100 all the way across the board. Even standard, he needs to be rostered. Unless you're in an 8-man or a 10-team league, this guy needs to be on teams.
Yeah. Real quick, just a little plug on my boy Blunt this year. According to Pro Fantasy Football Focus's elite stats, he leads running backs in 2 categories. He is the most elusive back. You heard me. Elusive back. He gets an average of 4.9 yards based on his elusive moves. And number 2, it's like 5.6 or maybe 6.2 after contact.
He's looked good, man. And so, like, you got to give it to him. They finally figured out how to use him. Yep. And everybody is backing up. He's facing 6-man boxes every play because Carson Wentz is on fire.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. This guy's having such a great year.
Fire. Dante Foreman looked like he's going to be taking some time from Miller. It looks like
he's good, man. He is a really good football player. And if Lamar Miller gets hurt, you're talking RB1 rest of the year. And the thing is, he's not just a handcuff because he has fantasy potential all by himself, which is what you want. You're talking guys like Derrick Henry, Tevin Coleman, these guys that have fantasy relevance on their own, but if something happens, then he can blow up and win you a league. So go get this guy. He's only owned in 16% of leagues. That's it. But he is a freaking home run waiting to happen every single play. Absolutely love this kid.
He's
awesome. I'm a Longhorn fan too, so that's a lot of it. But you can see it. He passes the eye test every time. And if you watch any Texans game, you never leave the Texans game thinking, wow, Lamar Miller's way better than that guy. Absolutely not. Every single game this year, you watch it and you think, Dante Foreman's better than him.
Yep.
It's not close. It's a matter of time.
He's a big man. People are scared of him.
He's bigger and faster. And that's the thing. If you look at his fantasy stats, he's the number 34 running back right now, like on the year. It's not like he's just a chump. Like he's putting up decent gains, just consistent, but you need to go get this guy.
Yeah. Real quick, you talked about Derrick Henry. Just want to say, after watching Monday Night Football, man, Derrick Henry's value is going up. DeMarcos is going down. Now, I know DeMarcos scored a touchdown tonight, and he made you happy. But if you look at the usage of Derrick Henry at this particular game, it went up significantly.
And I think a lot of that was game plan, but DeMarco Murray got hurt early. And so he got hurt in the first quarter, and he pulled himself out of the game. The coaches, the trainers were working his hamstring on the sideline. You could tell they had him on a snap count after that. He was getting about every third touch. But I'm telling you this right now, both need to be owned. I would prefer, if it's just pick a running back moving forward, I'm taking DeMarco Murray. But obviously, he's got a role to play. That 75-yard touchdown at the end or whatever it was just unreal.
But right now, though, you're not getting the DeMarco Murray from last year where you're like, dude, I'm going to get fantasy production every week. Right now,
he's had some misses. He has had some misses.
You have a pit in your stomach about, like, how's he going to perform tomorrow? Are they going to give him the ball? Anyways, moving on.
They're right next to each other as far as, like, fantasy points goes.
Wow.
Like, they're neck and neck. Having said that, let me pull this up here. Like, I'm still taking DeMarco Murray, man. That's just who I want. That's who I want.
Maybe we'll come back to that. I got some questions about that. Kenny Golladay, the stud from preseason.
This is my number one waiver wire pickup this week. So, like, of everybody I've mentioned, the number one guy is Kenny Golladay. And it goes back to our injury news. He hasn't practiced, and Kenny Galladay's been hurt. But now Golden Tate is hurt. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert Kenny Golladay into the starting lineup day one. He's going to play predominantly outside, but he can play inside as well. This guy is an RB1 as long as Golden Tate is out of the lineup. He is the number one waiver wire pickup this week.
WR1. Okay.
18% owned, man. Go get him.
Dante Moncrief, not a fan, but I know Luck is going to come back. I just not a fan.
And he's looking good with Jacoby Brissett. So he had 5 catches today, and you insert Aaron Rodgers, and that's 5 catches with a touchdown. So go get that guy, Nelson Aguilar. I'll just 36% owned. I'll turn it over to you. Go ahead. Stand up on your box.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So basically, as John was giving this guy's eulogy this summer.
I hate this. He was the last ranked wide receiver in the entire NFL last year. Last.
Hey, man, let's give it up for this guy. He looks fantastic. He is really catching the ball, like plucking it out of the air, running routes, Chris. And then when he gets the ball, he looks electric. He looks like you don't know what he's going to do. Looks like a punt returner. So, anyways.
He's the number 18 wide receiver in the NFL right now, fantasy. Can you believe that? 3 games in double digits. He's got 4 touchdowns. Now he's a boomer bust guy. So you got to put him in the category of Will Fuller, Ted Ginn, Mike Wallace. So there's going to be some games where, again, 4 points, 7 points, 8 points. But if he hits the big one, then you're solid. So he's got great matchups moving forward, too. You guys do not have a tough schedule.
Not for a while. We got
the
Denver.
Broncos, and you got at the Seahawks. Outside of that, there's nothing that's not
accomplishable. Hunter Henry, I watched this guy, and it definitely looked like finally the Chargers have made a decision about what tight end they're going to use more, and it's him.
Well said. 3 weeks in a row, he's run more routes than Antonio Gates, and it took a while because he had 2 games in the first 3 where he didn't even get a target. And so, like, it was, get rid of this guy, and a lot of people did. They got rid of him. He's owned in 58% of leagues, but go get him. He's a top 10 tight end rest of year, and he keeps scoring touchdowns. If he keeps doing that, he's going to be solid. And he got tackled on the half-yard line. Oh, if he would have scored that, I mean, these are the last 3 weeks. If I'm in a tight end premium league, if you're in something like that, 10.6, 14.7, 16.5 is the one I'm looking at right now off the top of my head. Like, this is a guy you need to go get. Back-to-back weeks, top 10 points. He's playing against the Broncos, who are very tough against almost everything, but they do give up yards to the tight end. And then the Patriots. So go get this guy. And the next tight end is Jack Doyle. And a big reason why I've got a lot of Colts on here is because as soon as Andrew Luck comes back, these are must-own guys. Must-own. Kenny Golladay again. Let me just say this again. My number 1 waiver wire pickup this week. Go get that guy in every single league imaginable.
And I think also, too, stock up for Lions players in general. Ebron.
So bad.
Probably Theo Riddick starts to get a little bit more love.
Oh, yeah, maybe, but, man, Abdullah's he's looked good. He didn't have a great week, but he serves a purpose. As soon as Theo Riddick goes in, they pull a man out of the box. As soon as Abdullah went in, they walk up the safety. And so Jim Bob Cooter, greatest name of all time, he's doing well because he'll put in Abdullah and then throw a slant route where the safety should be coming up. And so I don't know, man. I'm not that high on Theo Riddick this year.
There's somebody named Jim Bob Cooter. That's what I got stuck on.
He's an offensive coordinator, and he'll be a head coach pretty soon.
All right, so check this out, guys. That's our waiver wire. And right now what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of recap, right? The stock market fell. We don't know where the Dow is. We're not sure about anything. We're just going to kind of go through our top 5 guys for each position. John, take us through our quarterbacks.
Yeah, we've been through hell, and we have lost the number 1 position of quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. We lost Aaron Rodgers. We lost David Johnson. We've lost Odell Beckham. So let's say we're redrafting today. We are halfway through our fantasy season, guys, which is nuts. We're 6 weeks down. We have 7 weeks to go in the fantasy, whatever you want to call it, regular season, then playoffs for most things. So if we were redrafting today, this is the order of quarterbacks, my top 5. Number 1, Tom Brady. 2, Deshaun Watson, and a huge surprise. Deshaun Watson's amazing. He's thrown for more touchdowns than Tom Brady
Wow.
Yeah, figure that one out.
Whoa.
No, go ahead.
I said, whoa.
Whoa is correct. Number 3, your boy Carson Wentz. 4, Dak Prescott, who I absolutely love when Zeke's out. 1, he's been amazing regardless, and he's already had his bye. So go get Dak Prescott. He's the number 8 quarterback right now, fantasy-wise, and he's had a game off. Like, the guy has been exceptional. And Drew Brees, number 5, just because Drew Brees is Drew Brees.
Yep, that's amazing. I'm happy to see Carson Wentz at 3. I get why Deshaun is there. I think for consistency-wise, who do I trust going down the stretch? Of course, I trust my boy Wentz.
And Wentz has been great, and he's throwing the ball a lot. He's averaging just over 30 passes each game, but the touchdowns, the last 2 games, he has 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's unreal. He's got a little bit of rushing yards each week, but he is just consistent, and we've already talked about the schedule. So these are guys that were drafted as backups that you can go and trade for if you had Aaron Rodgers. That's what I'm doing.
He has easily left about, I'd say, 4 or 5 touchdowns on the field, too. And, I mean, wide open, just missing guys deep and stuff like that. Carson's still got some development to go. All right, moving on to the running backs. I'm surprised to see somebody at number 1. I really am.
Man, Le'Veon Bell is an absolute monster. And the main reason why I say that is it took him a while to warm up. He's used to being suspended for the first couple of games of the season, and it took him a while to warm up. But 32 rushing attempts in 1 game, 179 yards and a touchdown, the guy has killed it. And in games when they shut down the rushing, the week before, 15 rushes for 47 yards. Oh, that sucks against the Jaguars. Oh, wait a second, 10 catches for 46 yards. And so he's 100% matchup proof. And the volume is second to none. Nobody gets the volume this guy gets. That's why he's my number 1 guy. Number 2, Kareem Hunt, who absolutely incredible. First player in NFL history for his first 6 games to have over 100 scrimmage yards. He is just absolutely exceptional. 3, Todd Gurley. Golly. Who saw this coming?
Not me.
And I'll tell you what made the difference is whenever their 3rd down back, Lance Dunbar, got hurt right before the season, because before that they were talking about how he's just a 1 and 1st and 2nd down back. But after Lance Dunbar got hurt, they said, you know what, we're going to see what he can do on 3rd downs as well. And his receptions are great. I mean, he's got 23 catches already, which he's about to break his career high for catches in the season next week. So he's matchup proof as well. Leonard Fournette is a man. Oh, my gosh, he's so good.
Ooh.
His injury is fine. And then Melvin Gordon, number 5. Holy cow, Melvin Gordon.
Yes.
Now, and here's the thing. So we have these top 5, and then there is a cliff, a gigantic cliff after that. So if you can do anything you can to get those 5, those are your fantasy winners right now. So go get those 5. Package trades, figure out if the guy that has one of these 5 had Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, try to trade him your quarterback. I don't care who it is. Get these 5. These are the 5 MVPs of the fantasy season so far.
Yeah, it's wild, man. All right, moving on to wide receiver. I mean, obviously, Antonio Brown. He's just crazy, consistent, and talented.
It's not close, man. There's nobody else within 9 targets of this guy. You have him and AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins. Those are the top 3. And then there's a cliff, and I got Mike Evans and Julio Jones. And the main reason why I like Mike Evans so much is because he's already had his bye, which I love. I absolutely love that he's already had his bye. So that's a free week you can go get if you trade for him. But those top 5 guys, but namely top 3. This is a top 3. Antonio Brown, AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, who is – man, he's just killed it. And he's leaving plays out there. I think that he could possibly be – he's got a bye this week. I really do think that he could finish as the number 1 wide receiver this year, DeAndre Hopkins.
Wow. Remember people drafted him like the first receiver, what was it, last year?
Yeah, and it burned. And I got burned on that one a few times. But he's looking awesome.
That's awesome. All right, next, and again, I'm like so happy to see there's a certain guy at number 1 at tight end,
Zach Ertz, baby.
Ertz, baby.
So, and here's why. He is the number 1 targeted tight end, and it is not close.
Yeah, it's not.
And he's awesome, man. He's tied for the league lead with touchdowns, and he's just super consistent. He's the number 1 fantasy scoring tight end, and I think that can improve. You have Gronk number 2, but he's going to miss games. But when Gronk's in, he's Gronk. Yep. Cameron Brate. Oh, my gosh. Basically, Cameron Brate is Tyler Eifert. He's 4 touchdowns in 5 games and just so solid. Like, play this guy. I got Kelsey at 4. Man, it seems like they'll game plan away from him sometimes. And number 5, Evan Ingram.
Yes.
He's the last man standing.
Yep, he is.
And we saw what they did last week. They peppered that guy with targets. And so and he's catching everything. And so I'm all in on Evan Ingram.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something too, having these tight ends, especially the way that these top 5 that you guys are scoring, the ones we've mentioned, it can change. It can change the fantasy outcome for you. I mean,
Charles Clay as well. A lot of people dropped him. I dropped him in a deeper league. Probably shouldn't have, but I had to. He'll be back in 2 weeks, and he's going to be in that contention for the top 6, and then there's a huge drop-off.
And Ertz, I believe if you combine tight ends and wide receivers, he's somewhere between 5 and 8, even in comparison to receivers of
Let's look it up.
Fantasy scoring.
Yep, he's up there, man. Yeah, he's like number 6.
Number 6.
That's impressive.
So that is like if you have a top tier wide receiver, I mean he's right there with
most trusted receiver there. And in most time he's Wentz's first read. And so he'll read off of Wentz and what the linebackers do. And so if the linebacker bites at all on a play action or scrapes for the wide receiver Blunt or Smallwood going out of the backfield, then it's an instant toss to Kelsey. And it seems like almost all of their reads are straight off of that. Not all, but the vast majority.
So real quick, and then we can move on to our game of the week, but I was listening to a defensive coordinator talk about Ertz as a matchup problem because they were saying, who are you concerned about? Jeffries? He goes, no, it's Ertz and it's hands down Ertz. And he goes, here's why. He goes, he has the most diverse route tree for a tight end in the league. And he said, the thing is that he gave some number of how many tight ends run. And he goes, Ertz is about double. And he goes, and we've noticed this, and he runs them crisp. And him and Wentz have it memorized what he's going to do. So he said, the moment you think he's going to do this, he does this. So they benefited from how hard they've worked together. So anyways,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay. All right. Moving forward to the game of the week, probably one of the more fantasy relevant games in, I don't know, it could be a while. This one could get scoring very high. Atlanta Falcons versus the New England Patriots Scorefest.
Man, this is going to be a 30-plus scoring game on both sides. Yep. Like, you're talking like 37-31 when it's all said and done. Vegas is going to love this game on the over and under. And it is start every single person that you have on these teams at every single position. Yeah. Quarterbacks, well, one, you're starting Brady and Ryan no matter what. Like, you need to. Yep. Well, I wouldn't start Ryan very often, but this week, yes. I don't like Ryan. But anyway, running backs, start Tevin Coleman and start Devontae Freeman with confidence. Now, on the running back side for New England, this is where it gets interesting. Gillislee snaps have gone down every single week this year, and for the first time, Rex Burkhead is healthy.
Yeah.
I kind of think this is going to be a Rex Burkhead game, but anytime you play with New England, It's a crapshoot because there's 5 freaking running backs, and they're just rolling the dice. Start both tight ends. I'm not a huge Hooper fan. I would stay away, but that's the only guy I'd be like, I don't know. Receivers, play them all. Absolutely. If you have a receiver in this game, we don't know if Sanu's going to be back yet, but it doesn't matter. If he is, start him. Start every single player that you have that is a Falcon or that is a Patriot.
Yeah, real easy fantasy advice this week, but let me circle back to something we told you before draft time. And it was this. Stay away from Patriot running backs. Now, a lot of you came out week 1. Oh, I'm so glad I drafted Gillislee. John and I have been doing this for a little while now.
I did in a dynasty league. I traded Gillislee right after that for a first-round pick next year, straight up.
Wow.
And that person has got Gillislee on his bench for the past 2 weeks, and it is just like so great. Like I totally stole a pick there.
Absolutely.
I hope he's not listening, and if he is, hey man, just want to let you know, good trade, dude. No, it's gonna work out for you in the long term. Don't worry.
Here's the deal. Don't play with. How's your week going, guys? Now, 5-6 weeks later. Bill Belichick hates fantasy football.
He does.
Gillislee fumbled last week, and then he basically got pulled off the field entirely. Belichick doesn't forget or forgive. He is Satan. Have you not learned? Okay? So just listen. Well said. Just listen next time. Only take those New England running backs when they're in later rounds. And
right. So I took Burkhead. I took Burkhead, and the whole idea was, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
It didn't pan out, and so I didn't lose anything. I lost like a 14th or 15th round pick. No big deal. People were taking Gillislee in the 4th round.
Yep, exactly.
Stupid. Carlos Hyde was going in the 4th round.
Oh, he's
the number 6 fantasy running back right now. Yeah.
Man, and I'm telling you what, taking some of this own fantasy advice that John gives has greatly benefited me and others. So,
dude, you are killing it in every freaking league, man. What are you talking about? Like, you're dominating every damn league I'm in with you, which is ridiculous. And congrats.
And you know what? It comes from the materials and the content that I get from this podcast. So, you know what, guys? This is just a podcast for me. Hopefully, you guys can earn some money yourselves.
Well, that's what sucks is you're beating me.
Yeah.
We talk about things, and then we both put them into practice, but we had some unfortunate breaks from my side. But, dude, hats off to you. Yeah, you're killing it all the way across the board.
I mean, I just feel bad for the person who took David Johnson, Zeke, Dalvin Cook. That would have been really rough.
But and so I'll say this. I drafted David Johnson in 5 out of 8 leagues, and it was rough. I lost a lot of early games, but I'm scrapping back. So I went 7-1 this week out of my 8 fantasy leagues. And again, that's a lot of leagues with David Johnson, but you fight back and you do some trades and you get waiver wire and you just keep scrapping. That's all you got to keep doing. If you keep doing that, it pays off in the end. So it doesn't matter if you're 1-5 or if you're 2-4, because guess what? If you are 1-5, all you have to do is get a winning record out of 13 games, and usually you make your fantasy playoffs. That's a 7-6 record. That's all you got to do. 7-6 is not necessarily the goal, but if you have a losing team right now, that's what you're trying to do. It's not too late. Do not give up on your fantasy team. Freaking knuckle down. And this is when you get those badass stories. Man, you remember that one year when I was 1-5 and I lost David Johnson and I came back to win the damn league? Woo! I got into the playoffs barely and then I won it. Like, that's what we're trying to do. And so do not give up. You're listening to this podcast. You're 30 minutes deep into this thing. You believe. We believe in you. And let us know because, man, you guys, you just got to stay with it and keep grinding.
Let me just tell you this last part, too. You know who's going to win in their leagues this year? People who play the waiver wire. This has been the injury year. It doesn't matter how well you drafted. Everybody this year is going to suffer injuries. I lost Dalvin Cook, whatever. It's people who know how to play. I got Aaron Jones the week it mattered, and he came through for me.
Yep.
It's people who play the waiver wire. That's who wins the money. That's who gets the glory and has their name etched as #1 league champion. That's what we're trying to do.
Because once you're in the playoffs, it's all a crapshoot after that. So that's your goal. Yep. Now, I will say this. Charles lost a bet last week.
Yeah.
He had I don't know why you love Blake Bortles so much, but it almost paid off for you. He bet Blake Bortles against Alex Smith fantasy points, and I won by a damn point.
Oh, it was awesome.
Now, the punishment of this bet was a 1-act play of The Notebook, and Charles just uploaded this onto Twitter and onto YouTube, and it is exceptional. So go to @hostchuckb and watch this 4-minute dialogue of him reenacting The Notebook. And there's a part in there, there's 2 parts where he makes out with his own hand. It is so much greatness.
It's not the first time.
Go watch it @hostchuckb on Twitter. And oh my gosh. Have you looked at what's the title of the YouTube video? Do you know?
Host Chuck B pays his debt.
There you go. @hostchuckb pays a debt. And you'll see them with his Eagles hat on. And it is the funniest damn thing that you have ever seen.
I'm going to Hey Kay Adams because I'm like in love with her. Hopefully she watches it and we make a connection.
Hey,
anyways,
there you go.
Well, man, this has been episode 17, a fun one, a very informative one. We wish you luck in your leagues. Peace.
That's right. Peace. Absolutely amazing podcast, my friend.
Agree.
God, that was fun. How long was it? 40 minutes?
40.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like longer podcasts. You don't.
No, you know what? I just like what gets the fans. Here's what I think right now. I think we're giving people an extra day to listen to us. So
we had some people jump on. I was watching the viewers.
Yeah.
And it was jumping up and down.
I think that we really will see a return in the Monday night because like Richard was saying, like what we are is a day late. That is what we are. Every Wednesday morning, it's like, fuck, dude, why didn't I do what they said? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, no, dude, great podcast. Fun video tonight. All around good stuff.
And that was fun.
And we're halfway through. Do we want to still podcast every now and again after the season? I think it'd be kind of fun.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to.
Yeah.
We'll make it fun. We'll make it a little less football and a little more fun.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's cool. That actually sounds like a lot of fun. Like even like a January episode where like nothing's going on and we're just rumors and draft.
Yep.
And
that's the thing, man. I mean, I do so much fucking draft work. So let's just talk about the draft.
Your draft work is more insane than your fantasy work. So like your fantasy work's good. I'm just saying like you tend to know more.
Yeah, I do agree with that. It was funny. Somebody asked me on my 49ers podcast, how do you watch film? How do you break down film? Like, what's your what do you do? And so I talked for it about 4 minutes. Like, I do this film, and then I watch this few, and this is what I watch, and I'm looking for this, and I kept going, and I totally like geeked out in the middle of a podcast and like went way too long.
Yeah.
But I think it was good because I did it at the start, and I think everybody was like, "Hey."
Yeah. Hey, I think we're still live.
No. Oh shit. I think you're right. Hey, we're live. What's up, man? What's up, bitches? All right, peace. See you, YouTube. Sorry about that.